Okay, my name's Sheeyah Duncan. I'm Thodachini, which is Navajo on my mom's side, and then I'm Robinson from Robinson Rancheria. I don't really like to say Robinson Rancheria because Robinson, he was a farmer. He was a white farmer. There's no real reason for our particular tribe to, identify or praise, someone who's not, who actually didn't do anything for us. So I don't like to say that, but for this particular interview, that's where I'm from. And I'm going to talk about just, I guess myself. I grew up on Robinson back before there was any houses, before there was a casino, before there was any bingo or anything, before there was paved roads. Our trailer was there in the corner, and it was when they were just getting ready to build those houses. And there used to be this pond where the present day bus stop is. It was like a natural pond where there was pollywogs, and there was bullfrogs, actual bullfrogs that lived there and swam there. And we used to swim in this little pond. There'd be ducks, everything, stuff like that. And we used to ride our bikes, on the dirt roads and stuff like that. And pretty much watched that whole, I guess, village there get built, and watched the people who built it, watched, the families that came to live in those homes, watched the councils that came to oversee the government for the tribe, watched, pretty much grew up watching, our community get built and go through ups and downs, and feud. There's been a lot of feuding, between the families from what I've seen. And it's not healthy, It's not healthy for, us as individuals. It's not healthy for us, as a family. It's not healthy for our community, to be fighting and arguing over money. Money is something so, it's so, something so, like worthless, I guess you could say, because it actually doesn't mean anything. It's a piece of paper. It's a way to conduct business. It's a transaction. It's a means to, conduct a transaction. But, and grew up there, and the next day I went to school. I went to college. I went to Kansas. I went to Haskell University. Actually I started at DQ University. Then I went to Haskell University, and then I went to Sac State. And while I was at these universities, what I learned was about how pretty much the tribes came to be, from the U.S. to tribal government relationships, and how we came to be the particular tribes, and the policies and the legislation that was passed, the Order Number 44, which it was pretty much the extermination of all Northern California Indians, the gold rush. They like talk up the gold rush, but yet, it's like we don't realize it. And as Indian people too, it's like we wear gold, but we don't realize that gold was, a part of, they wanted that gold so bad, and they did anything, whether it was Russian, French, it didn't matter. During the gold rush, there was all kinds of, other nations coming, for that money, for that gold. And they would do anything. They would rape our women. They would kill our kids, kill the men, It was just ruthless. It was a ruthless time. 120,000 people died in a 20-year span during the gold rush, And yet, a lot of our people don't understand that, and they walk around with like gold chains, gold rings and stuff like that, and be like, wait a second, don't you realize that gold, contributed to the massacre and death of Indian people at one time? We shouldn't be, walking around with those types of things as Indian people. That's how I feel personally, but and so, but not just the gold rush, back then, in the 1800s, but also, I was listening to this elder one time speak, and he was talking about the second coming of the gold rush, that gaming is actually the second coming of the gold rush. And the way he explained it is that the white people at the time, that the look that they had in their eye during the gold rush, it's like it's like our old people, our old Indian people used to laugh about that look that they had in their eye, because they would do anything. It was that look like I'll do anything to get that gold. You know what I mean? It's like I'll disenroll you. I mean, back then it was like I'll kill you, I'll rape your woman, you know, and I'll do this and I'll do that, physically, you know, harm you. You know what I mean? It's like, but today, with the second coming of the gold rush, with this gaming, it's like that same look that they had in their eye, our own people have that same look, because they'll do anything to get you out of the way of their money. They'll disenroll you, they'll evict you from your house, they'll erase your identity, and they have no right to do that. But it's because they want that so bad. They've become, at what time, what we, what we laughed about. It's like, man, we call them Masan people because they were unreal people. It wasn't because they were white. It wasn't because they were physically white people. It's because they were unreal. They weren't a real person. That's what Masan means. And I think that word Masan can apply to even Indian people. Because a lot of our tribal leaders, a lot of our, people who are supposed to be doing what's best for the community, I think they can be considered Masan people too. Because they're not acting as real people. They're doing things that are detrimental to our communities. It's like you don't just disenroll people. It's like traditionally we had, it's like we would accept people into our communities. It didn't matter where you were from. If you was an Indian person, and you needed help, you needed someone to call family, we would accept you. And you were a part of that community, a part of that family. You weren't just thrown out, all of a sudden 10, 20 years down the road, all of a sudden you're not a part of this family anymore. It's like, no, you can't do that. And it's like if you were to take a forest, like a redwood forest, and you were to clear cut half of it. It doesn't change the fact that those trees that were cut down, it's like the roots that they had in that ground, that earth became a part of that ground, that earth. Their DNA is in that earth. It's a part of that earth. That'll never change. It'll always be there. And they will always be a part of that place where they put their roots down and they were raised and they grew up. They will always be a part of that place. Nothing will ever change that. No politics, no piece of paper, nothing. And so when I think of like tribal governments and tribal greed and tribal corruption, it's sad, it's pathetic, it's it's embarrassing. It's like we should be ashamed just as Indian people, of how some of our people behave. And we should be ashamed sometimes how we behave, because sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in it. The gossip and the, it's like, although we try to, fight, for our own rights and stuff like that, it's still Indian people fighting Indian people at the end of the day. And so it's just, we need to be, I guess, more compassionate, more compassionate, more thankful for what it is we do have. A lot of us are all, we're a community that is family orientated. It's like we care so much about our families, and I think that's why we fight so hard. Because there's a lot at stake. It's like this just isn't our our houses, or our enrollments that are at stake. It's just our identity. It's like this is what we're showing to the larger community of how we behave. It's like we weren't taught to behave this way. Maybe some of us were. Maybe I'm wrong. And some of us were taught to behave this way. And I guess all you can do is pray for those ones that do behave that way. But we need to be thankful. Thankful for the ones that continue to, regardless of the stress, regardless of the pressure, regardless of the oppression by their own people, they continue to do what they're supposed to do. Like our young people who dance, our young people who sing. we need to be thankful for them, because they're the ones that are holding on to our sovereignty. It's not our tribal leaders, because our tribal leaders, a lot of them, you look at them and the things they do, they don't. There's nothing about them that says that they're sovereign, or they have the right to be sovereign. But then when you look at a lot of our kids, the ones that dance and sing, and are just, really respectful and things like that, it's like you got to be thankful for them, because they're the ones that are holding our sovereignty. It's like there's going to come a day when the American government's going to look at our communities with a fine-tooth comb, and they're going to say, it's like, what about you is, I guess, different from us? Because in terms of behavior, it's like we behave just like, they do nowadays. We talk like them. A lot of us lost our language. There's no more language. You know what I mean? And the only thing that we're going to have and be able to show them that is different is our tribal songs and dances. But it's like if we don't support those things, then who's going to be left to sing those songs? Who's going to be left to dance those dances? If our tribal leaders don't support it, I mean, who's going to support it? They say there's 3 tiers in terms of like enrollment. You know what I mean? It's like the first tier is a full blood. The second tier is a half blood. And the third tier is a quarter blood. They say anytime you fall under that third tier, that quarter blood, then you run the risk of, I guess, you run the risk, or you put your tribe at risk. You know what I mean? Of being, I guess, a tribe.